The shelter door creaked open at dawn. No one noticed him at first, not until the motion sensor blinked and a faint whimper pierced the cold morning air. He stood there, barely upright. Mud clung to his matted fur, ribs jutted out like broken branches, one eye sealed shut from infection. Blood left delicate trails behind him. But he had made it. 30 miles. Died. Alone. No collar. No name tag. No reason. Except a voice inside him that whispered, "Go back. Back to where they left you. Back to where you were last seen as somebody's dog." A shelter worker stepped out, coffee steaming in her hand. The cup slipped through her fingers. "Oh my God," she whispered. "It's him." His ears twitched once. Then he collapsed. Not from fear. Not from pain. From relief. Oh. He was home. And this time, someone had seen. They moved fast. No one spoke much. It was all muscle memory. Blankets, IV lines, antiseptic. Gerald muttered, "He's just bones." Megan didn't answer, already prepping fluids. The dog didn't struggle. He didn't move. But his eyes never left them. Wide, steady, wordless, as if waiting for someone to answer a question too old to ask. Miranda entered, slow, solemn. "Why come back here?" someone asked. Miranda's voice cracked, because this was the last place he was wanted. That silence again. The one that wraps around pain like gauze. The monitor beeped gently. He blinked. A sigh escaped his chest. And still, no sound. No whimper. Just presence. That kind of presence only animals carry after they've seen the worst of us. And still hoped for the best. The water ran warm over his skin. Mud peeled away in sheets. Beneath it, rawness. Not just wounds but stories etched in scars. A burn mark near the shoulder. A twist in the back leg that never healed right. Megan's hands moved gently, as if touching a shrine. "This didn't happen in a week," she whispered. And it didn't. These injuries were history, long walks, cold nights, maybe worse. He never whimpered. Not even when the cloth met open flesh. That was the cruelty of it. Not the pain, but how used to it he was. 30 miles. 30 miles. Every step pressing these wounds deeper. For what? Not food. Not warmth. For something bigger. Loyalty. Belonging. Die. Hope. Whatever it was, it had carried him back here. They gave him quiet. The kind of quiet only shelters can provide before the barking begins. Wrapped in flannel, a heater humming nearby, soft light blanketed the room. Miranda stayed. Not as a director, but as a witness. She watched his chest rise, slow and strained. Each breath a small declaration. "I'm still here." She thought about the others who hadn't made it back. Ones who wandered, got lost, never found home again. But he had. Despite everything, he had. Her pen scratched paper. She wasn't writing. Just listening to the silence. Somewhere he dreamed. His paws twitched. A half smile curled into his muzzle. Miranda whispered, "You're not going anywhere now." And for the first time, she believed it. The shelter's page lit up in an hour. One photo. No caption. Just him, asleep, blanketed and peaceful. And the world responded. "He came back. Please tell me he's okay. We met him. He was so sweet." People remembered. They'd seen him behind that fence, tail wagging. But they hadn't taken him. He'd waited. Then he left. Then returned. Carried not by direction, but by devotion. 30 miles of blind belief. At the Post hit local blogs. Then national feeds. But none of that mattered to him. He slept. Dreamed. Repaired. Because something inside him said it was safe now. And maybe, this time, it was. Before the ache, before the frostbite, before the scars, he had a name. Cooper, named Hanwell. He was the kind of dog who trotted with purpose, tail raised like a banner, every step echoing quiet pride. At the shelter, he wasn't just another stray. He was the one who brought the scared puppies out of their corners. The one who didn't bark unless someone needed warning. He carried calm like a cloak. The staff adored him. Kids loved brushing his thick coat in the play yard. "He's like a little gentleman," Miranda once said. His eyes had the kind of depth that made people pause. Not afraid. Not sad. Just waiting. For a person. For a home. For someone to choose him. And for a moment, just one, someone did. She came on a Saturday. Mid-20s, cropped hair, nervous energy. Her name was Tara. She said, "I'm not sure I'm ready, but I want to try." Cooper didn't rush her. He sat down near her feet and waited. No bark. No lick. Just presence. Something about that calmed her. They walked the yard. He stayed close but never needy. At one point, she whispered, "I've had people leave too." That's when Cooper leaned against her leg. Just once. Just enough. Miranda noticed and smiled. "Sometimes," she said softly, "they choose each other." By the time Tara left, the paperwork was done. She turned back at the gate, unsure. He looked at her. Steady. Certain. She smiled through tears. "Okay, boy," she said. "Let's go home." The apartment was small, the furniture second-hand, but to Cooper, it smelled of new beginnings. Tara laughed nervously as he explored, tail wagging gently, sniffing corners and flopping onto the worn rug like it was royalty. She bought him a squeaky duck and a used dog bed. He ignored both and curled up on her jacket instead. She took selfies with him on the couch, grinning despite herself. "You're gonna save me," she joked. He didn't know her story, but he knew the shape of quiet, the weight of silence after doors close. He slept beside her bed that night. Her hand dropped down halfway through her dream, and he nudged it. Not asking. Just reminding her he was there. And she slept sounder than she had in months. For a while, things worked. Morning walks. Quiet evenings. A rhythm formed. Cooper waited by the door when she came back from work, tail wagging like clockwork. She spoke to him more than anyone else. "You're the only one who listens," she'd laugh. But shadows crept in. Unpaid bills. Missed shifts. Fights over the phone. Doors slammed harder. She stayed gone longer. Cooper still waited. Still wagged. But she started flinching when he got too close. Her eyes grew tired, darker. Once he brought her the duck toy. She barely looked up. "Not now," she muttered. He dropped it and walked away, not out of rejection, but understanding. Because even dogs can tell when someone's heart is breaking quietly. Then came the box. A cardboard thing duct-taped dragged from the closet. She folded the blanket he loved. Packed the food bowl. Didn't say a word. Cooper watched, head tilted. The leash came out last. Not for a walk. For something else. The car ride was silent. She didn't cry. Didn't speak. Just stared at the road like it might break apart if she blinked. At the shelter, she handed over the leash. "I can't keep him," she said, voice flat. Miranda looked at Cooper, then back at Tara. "You sure?" Tara nodded without looking up. Cooper didn't resist. He just stared at her until the door closed behind her. That's the thing about dogs. They don't ask why. They just remember. Cooper waited. Not for a day. Not for a week. For nearly a month. Every morning, he looked toward the entrance as the staff came in. Every evening, he listened for a familiar voice. Tara never returned. The shelter staff did their best. Walks, treats, gentle words. But he was different now. He didn't play with the puppies anymore. Didn't touch the duck toy. He ate enough to survive, but never rushed to the bowl. His tail barely lifted. Miranda noticed first. "He's grieving," she whispered to Megan. "We see it in people. We rarely talk about it in dogs." On day 29, he didn't lift his head when visitors passed by his kennel. He just stared at the wall. Still, silent, waiting for something only he remembered. That night, the door to his kennel was found slightly ajar. Staff assumed it had been latched wrong. Cameras didn't catch it, motion sensors missed the gap. But Cooper was gone. No barking. No signs of panic. Just gone. Like he had evaporated into the cold. Miranda's hands trembled as she reviewed the footage. "He didn't run," she said. "He left. Not escaped. Left. That's what made it different." There were no claw marks on the door. No shredded bedding. Just the silence of a choice. Like something had pulled him, something stronger than fences or locks. She stared at the empty kennel and said softly, "He's going back to her." And nobody argued. He started walking before sunrise. Cold wind pressed against his side. His body was thinner, weaker, but his pace was steady. He followed something unseen. Smell, memory, instinct. Through fields. Over fences. Along ditches. Each mile wore him thinner, but he didn't stop. He passed gas stations, schoolyards, alleyways. He was barked at. Shoved off porches. Chased by kids. But he kept walking. His legs trembled. Paws bled. He scavenged crusts and puddles. Slept under bushes. Through it all, something in him said, "Keep going." Because somewhere behind him was a place that didn't want him. And somewhere ahead. Something that once did. That was enough. The weather turned. Rain fell like knives. Cold. No. Sharp. He ducked under dumpsters, waited out storms beneath trailers. His fur grew heavy with mud and ice. He limped more each day. His gait stiffened. Still, he moved. Sometimes he stopped at porches, sat quietly, hoping the smell was right. But it never was. Doors stayed closed. Voices shouted him off. Once, a man threw a rock. It struck his ribs. He yelped, but didn't run. He just waited until the man left. Then, limped away. There was no anger in him. Only direction. Each mile written in pain and loyalty. 30 miles. That's what it took. For a dog who didn't know where home was anymore, but still believed in the idea of it. When he saw the shelter sign again, he didn't bark. Didn't whine. He just stared. Eyes glassy, legs shaking. He took one more step, then another. The gravel scraped his raw pads. Each breath came like a shudder. But he made it. The gate was still unlocked. The light still flickered above the door. The same smell in the air, disinfectant and hope. He crossed the threshold just as dawn lit the sky. His body gave up, but his spirit had already arrived. He didn't collapse out of failure. He collapsed because the journey was done. And deep down, even without being called, he knew this was the only place left that had ever loved him back. The staff rallied fast. Miranda was the first to kneel by his side, hands trembling as she checked his breathing. "He's cold," she whispered. Megan rushed in behind her with blankets, IV kits, and warm fluids. "Get him inside now," she ordered. No hesitation. No questions. They moved like clockwork. Gerald stood frozen, staring. "How did he find us?" he muttered. Miranda didn't answer. Her eyes never left Cooper's face. He was still breathing, shallow and slow. The stretcher wheels squeaked as they pulled him through the hallway. 30 miles, Megan whispered under her breath, wiping mud from his muzzle. He came back on foot. And still, he hadn't whimpered. Not once. His silence was louder than a scream. And it broke something inside them all. In the exam room, Cooper lay motionless. Heat lamps buzzed above him. Fluids ran slow into his veins. Megan worked with surgical precision, cleaning, checking, whispering soft encouragements like prayers. Miranda stood at the door. "How bad?" she asked. "He's alive," Megan replied, voice tight. "But barely." Every part of Cooper's body told a story. Cracked paws, bruised ribs, starvation, die, cold, bow, and beneath it all something worse, exhaustion that ran deeper than muscle. "He didn't just walk here," Megan said. "He bled here. He crawled here." Gerald appeared behind them, holding the duck toy. It was old, chewed, a little torn. He placed it by Cooper's head. "For when he wakes up," he said. And then, finally, someone cried. Tara saw the post by accident. She wasn't looking. It popped up as a suggested memory in her feed, Cooper's photo under the headline. He walked 30 miles back. Her breath caught. The room around her faded. She stared at the screen. At him. At the blanket. The duck. Her hand trembled as she clicked. The article unfolded. Timeline, photos, the moment he returned. A quote from Miranda. "He didn't give up on us, even when we gave up on him." Tara dropped the phone. It clattered to the floor. For a long time she didn't move. Then she whispered, "You came back?" Her voice cracked. It wasn't joy or pride. It was guilt. The kind that swallows you whole. She didn't sleep. Not that night. Or the next. She paced. Read the article again. Watched the video. Listened to the staff talk about him like he was a soldier who came home from war. "I left him," she kept muttering. "He came back. And I left him." Eventually, she packed a bag. Just her keys. Just her coat. Just the truth. She drove through the rain, white knuckles on the steering wheel. When she reached the shelter, her headlights caught the building like a memory. She didn't cry. Not yet. She walked to the door, unsure of what she'd say. What she could say. When Miranda opened it and saw her standing there, she said only one thing. "He's been waiting." The room was quiet. Cooper didn't lift his head. But his eyes opened. Slowly. He saw her. The one who left. The one he walked 30 miles for. Tara knelt beside him. She didn't touch him right away. Just looked. At the scars. The ribs. The silence. "I don't deserve you," she whispered. "But I'm here." Her voice cracked. Then she reached out. One trembling hand. He blinked once. Then again. And then, his tail moved. Not a wag. Just a twitch. Like a spark from a long-dead fire. She placed her forehead against his. And the room, filled with machines, medicine, and quiet weeping, felt holy. Not because of redemption, but because of recognition. He remembered her. And he had never stopped waiting. Miranda pulled Tara aside. "We need to talk," she said gently. Tara nodded, eyes red, voice low. "I know I don't deserve him." But Miranda didn't lecture. Didn't scold. She opened a folder instead. A record of Cooper's first arrival. "This isn't his first return," she said. Tara blinked. "What do you mean?" Miranda tapped a date. "He came to us 2 years ago. Same condition. Different owner." Tara stared at the page. The details hit like punches. Malnutrition, untreated injuries, abandonment. He'd already survived one betrayal. "And yet," Miranda said, voice breaking, "he trusted again. You." Tara sat down, breath gone. "So he's always done this? Come back to people who failed him?" Miranda didn't smile. She just said, "No, he comes back to the people he chooses." Later that evening, Tara sat beside Cooper's crate in silence. She didn't speak, didn't beg for forgiveness. She simply existed beside him. And for the first time, he didn't look away. His breathing steadied. His eyes softened. Tara reached into her bag and pulled out something faded and frayed, his old leash. "You remember this?" she whispered. The clip jingled slightly. Cooper's ears twitched. She laid it beside him, not as a promise, but as an offering. "This time," she said quietly, "you choose." There was no expectation, no pressure, just a broken woman and a recovering dog, and a silence that spoke of things only the heart understands. Trust rebuilt one breath at a time. In the days that followed, Cooper began to heal, not just physically, but in ways that couldn't be charted. He took small bites again, lifted his head when Tara entered. His tail, once still as stone, started tapping faint rhythms against the blanket. The duck toy, Gerald had kept it near, was nudged once toward Tara's lap. A peace offering. A question. One morning, Tara arrived and whispered, "You want to try the yard?" He blinked. She opened the door. And he stood. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't fast. But it was forward. She walked. He followed. That was all it took. A single step toward the woman who hadn't given up on making it right. Word spread again. This time, not about tragedy, but transformation. The shelter's second post featured a photo of Cooper walking in the yard beside Tara, leash trailing like ribbon between them. The caption read, "Some stories deserve second chances." Comments poured in. Donations followed. People wrote letters. Volunteers brought toys. But Tara didn't care about the headlines. She cared about the sound of paws behind her. The way his body no longer flinched at sudden noise. The way he slept, deeply now, belly up, trusting. "He's teaching me," she said once. "Every day." When asked what, she replied, "How to forgive. Starting with myself." On Cooper's final health check, Megan smiled and said, "Strong heart, steady gait. A little stubborn, but good." Miranda leaned in and scratched behind his ear. "He's ready." Tara looked down at him. "You sure you want this?" she asked. Cooper didn't wag, didn't bark. He simply stood, leaned against her leg, and let out a sigh that sounded like home. Papers were signed. Photos were taken. Keys exchanged. He walked out the front door with her, not carried, not coaxed. He chose. As the door closed behind them, Miranda turned to the staff. "Let that be a reminder," she said. "Sometimes they come back not because they're lost, but because they believe someone is worth finding again." The first week at home felt unfamiliar, like stepping into a dream that didn't quite fit. Cooper paced the corners of the apartment, sniffed the couch, the door, the floor. He didn't lie on the jacket this time. He lay at the door, watching, waiting. Tara kept her voice low, her steps soft. "You don't have to trust me," she said. "Not yet." Each meal was set gently beside him. Each walk offered, never forced. And one night, something shifted. He crawled onto the couch, slow and unsure. She froze. But then, he rested his head on her lap. She didn't move. Didn't breathe for a second. Then, slowly, she placed her hand on his back. No words. Just warmth. Just being. Tara started walking again. Not to escape, but to breathe. Cooper followed, leash loose between them. They explored alleys, parks, quiet trails. No destination. Just movement. Strangers noticed them. "That's the dog from the story," someone said. Tara smiled, nodded politely, but didn't stop. This wasn't about stories. This was about silence. About forgiveness that didn't need headlines. Cooper still limped sometimes. He still flinched at loud cars. But he walked straighter now. Looked ahead more than behind. And when Tara paused at a park bench, he climbed up beside her, pressed his head under her arm. And for the first time she leaned into him without fear. "We're getting there," she whispered. Cooper began to protect again, not with growls or teeth, but with presence. When Tara had nightmares, he nudged her awake. When she cried, he rested his chin on her knee. He didn't ask. Didn't need to. He just stayed. She started talking to him again, full sentences now. "You know," she'd say, "you came back for me. But I think I came back for you too." On the worst days, when the weight pressed in, she'd bury her face in his fur. He never pulled away. Some neighbors thought he was just a rescue. But those who looked closely, really looked, saw it. Not just a dog. A guardian. A witness. A heart that had broken, and rebuilt itself anyway. Winter arrived quietly. Frost on windows. Breath visible in the morning. But warmth lived inside now. Tara left the heater running. She tucked blankets into corners where Cooper liked to nap. Sometimes she caught herself watching him sleep, just to make sure he was still there. And always he was. She framed the first photo they ever took together. Hung it by the door. A symbol, not of ownership, but of survival. When friends visited, they noticed. "He really came back 30 miles, one asked. Tara smiled. "He didn't come back for the shelter," she said. "He came back for what we both lost." She didn't say what that was. But Cooper, curled beneath the photo, seemed to know. They didn't celebrate the moment it all changed. There was no single day it got better. It just did, slowly, quietly. Tara stopped checking the clock during panic attacks. Cooper stopped flinching at slammed doors. Trust didn't arrive in a wave. It came in mornings spent side by side, in evenings spent sharing silence. One night she whispered, "You're home, Cooper." He lifted his head, blinked, and rested his chin on her lap. She smiled through tears. "And so am I." That's how healing works. Not always with fanfare. Sometimes it walks 30 miles on broken feet. Sometimes it curls up on the couch and waits. Sometimes it finds its way back, without ever needing to be called. Cooper aged quickly after that winter. The long journey, the cold nights, the hunger. It had taken a toll no love could erase. His steps grew slower, his naps longer, but there was no sadness in it. Only peace. He had made it, found her, forgiven her. Now, every moment felt like a reward. Tara noticed the changes, of course. The stiffer limbs, the heavy sighs. But she didn't mourn them. She honored them. Each walk was slower. Each cuddle lingered longer. She stopped rushing life. "You've taught me how to be still," she said once, brushing his fur. He blinked at her, warm and tired. Some dogs run through life. Some walk through storms and wait by doors. And some, like Cooper, walk home to leave gently. One day, he didn't get up for breakfast. Tara knew before she even turned the corner. He was lying by the window, head resting on his paws, eyes half closed. Not gone, just tired. She sat beside him for hours, whispering stories, memories, things she had once been too broken to say. "You were the first thing I ever forgave," she said softly. "And the first one to ever forgive me." He blinked once. His tail tapped once. And she smiled through the tears. The vet came later. Quiet. Gentle. No machines. No noise. Just comfort. Just love. He passed with his head in her lap, the duck toy tucked under one paw. Not afraid. Not alone. Just finished. The journey complete. The shelter held a small memorial. Nothing grand. Just photos, a bouquet, and a candle by his old kennel. Staff spoke in low voices. Gerald said, "Some animals break your heart. He stitched mine back together." Megan added, "He walked 30 miles, but somehow it was us he carried." The community sent cards. Some sent donations in his name. One child mailed in a hand-drawn picture, a dog with angel wings walking beneath a rainbow. It hung on the bulletin board for weeks. Tara didn't speak much that day. She just placed the leash, the old one, beside the candle. Then she whispered, "Thank you for choosing me, even when I didn't," and walked away, stronger than when he found her. Months passed. The apartment was quieter now, but not hollow. Tara found herself waking at the same times, listening for pause that wouldn't come. But eventually, Silence stopped feeling empty. It started to feel full. Full of everything he left behind: patience, forgiveness, love. She volunteered at the shelter now. Walked dogs others forgot. Sat with the ones who waited the longest. When someone asked why, she smiled and said, "Because someone once waited for me." In her bedroom above the nightstand hung a new frame, Cooper in the yard, leash trailing, eyes bright. Below it was a small tag. Just one word: chosen. And every night before sleep, she touched it once. Like a prayer. Sometimes she walks the old path they used to take, past the park bench by the bakery, down the quiet lane with cracked sidewalks. People don't stop her anymore. They just smile. A few still remember. A few still ask. But mostly, she walks in silence. And sometimes, she swears she hears the soft padding of paws beside her. Feels a nudge at her hand when she's still too long. One day, she paused at the gate of the shelter and looked back. "You never stopped waiting," she whispered to the air. "So I won't either." Then she smiled and walked on. The same path. Just a little slower. Because love never truly leaves. It just walks beside you.